See, the 4 young men didn't bother so much about the name. Babylonians could call them any name they liked, but within themselves they knew who they were, and so they were not perturbed. However, they were determined not to defile themselves with the food because they knew the aspect of the food also affected their relationship with God. And they knew that the food had been sacrificed to other gods. When you are confronted with a situation, do you tell the situation to be moved because you bear the name of Christ? See, these young men, they knew who they were. Do you know who you are in Christ? Mark 11:23-24. When an important dignitary makes an appearance at a function, protocol is observed. Is that right? And people make way. You bear the name of Christ, right? Therefore, when you find yourself in situations, protocol must be followed. Is that right? Because you bear the name of Christ. Speak to that mountain to make way. Anyone who bears the name of Christ is in the midst of that situation. And that situation must make way. Say with me, my identity in Christ, my perspective of who I am, is everything. In Judges chapter 7, we read of a man named Gideon, who I'm sure you're familiar with, whose identity was changed. Gideon's life was marked with fear, with insecurity, and a lack of courage. In chapter 6 of Judges, it is recorded that the Israelites had gone away from the Lord. Their hearts were no longer loyal to God, and God had allowed the Midianites to oppress them. The Midianites had ravaged the land of Israel and caused so much fear in the lives of the Israelites, to the point that they had fled their homes and hidden in caves to avoid the Midianites terrorizing, intimidating, and stealing from them. So it's against this backdrop that Gideon has an encounter with God that changed his path and pointed him to a brand new direction. Judges chapter 6, verse 25 onwards. God instructs Gideon to tear down his father's altar and build a proper kind of altar to the Lord. Gideon gets up at night to go to break down the altar. He doesn't do it during the day. He had just had an encounter with God, and God had told him he was going to be with him, and yet we see Gideon going back to his fears. So instead of tearing the altar down during the day, he does it at night. And he takes 10 men with him, though I don't think he needed 10 men, but he took 10 men anyway to break down the altar.